Are we sitting comfortably? Are the lights turned down low, and the shadows lengthening in the room? Are the curtains closed, and are the doors locked? Good. Then let us begin.
This modern pub near the river sits on the corner of Skeldergate and Albion Street and describes itself as a friendly locals pub nestled in Skeldergate, while advertising that it shows live sports including all games on Sky and BT Sports and hosts a weekly Sunday night quiz. While the pub is modern, the site however is said to date to at least the 17th century and have a connection with George Villiers, the 2nd Duke of Buckingham. So who was George Villiers, I hear you say? And if you go to the pub to watch the big screen, you'll probably add, and who did he play for? George Villiers was one of the archetypal Restoration rakes, part of the merry gang of courtiers whose other members included John Wilmot, the 2nd Earl of Rochester, Sir Charles Sedley, Charles Sackville, the 6th Earl of Dorset, and the playwrights William Wycherley and George Etheridge. Following the example of the monarch himself, these men distinguished themselves in drinking, sex, both consensual or not, and their witty conversation. Buckingham is often judged ostentatious, licentious, and unscrupulous. A contemporary observer at the court of King Charles II found him courteous, affable, generous, magnanimous. He is adored by the people. On the other hand, he is an atheist, blasphemer, violent, cruel and infamous for his licentiousness, in which he is so wrapped up that there is no sex nor age nor condition of persons who are spared from it. One occasion saw Buckingham invite a man to a pub in Newmarket to distract him, while his friend, Rochester, broke into the man's home, drugged and raped his wife, and then brought the woman to the pub so that Buckingham could also rape her. The Duke had a lifelong interest in science and was especially interested in alchemy and hoped to find a method of producing the Philosopher's Stone. It is said that he had a workshop on Skeldergate, which was on the site of the present pub. Unfortunately, the many hours the Duke spent in his laboratories damaged his health, so that later in life he showed the symptoms of mercury poisoning. Buckingham retired from public life in 1685 after the accession of James II and returned to his manor in Helmsley in Yorkshire, probably because of poor health and exhausted finances. He died on the 16th of April 1687 from a chill caught while hunting, expressing great repentance and feeling himself despised by my country and I fear forsaken by my God. And so, we come at last to the documented haunting of the Cock and Bottle. The reported and alleged phenomena at this inn has included the sound of a phantom door being broken down, the apparition of what is described as an ugly man, who is probably the same one that is often described to be evil and hate crucifixes. Many local people have in addition attested to have seen a splendidly dressed man with long hair in embroidered green clothing. Mrs. Stanley, a former proprietor during the 1970s, is said to have seen his ghost watching her as she looked in the mirror in her bathroom. She gave a description of the man as being of average height, with dark wavy hair falling to his shoulders. He was dressed in a long jacket with lots of buttons and embroidered buttonholes. A portrait of George Villiers, the 2nd Duke of Buckingham, was acquired, and while Mrs. Stanley could not be certain, it did seem to match her description. Local tradition certainly identifies the apparition of the Duke, and he is said to appear to women. The apparitions are said to have occurred in the area of the toilets. However, he has also been blamed for fondling and stroking pretty customers in the bar. Alan Jackson, when he was the owner and manager of the Cock and Bottle, lived in a flat above the pub. One night he heard voices and got up to investigate, but found nothing. The next morning he found the curtains blowing and the window wide open downstairs, although they had been locked the night before. On another occasion, when his business partner was closing up and checking the till late one night, he felt a series of cold and hot flushes. He looked up and saw a man standing at the bar, wearing a black cloak and hat with a long feather in it. Later he saw a painting of George Villiers and confirmed that this was the same man he had seen in the bar. There is a more sinister aspect to the pub as well, for women visiting the ladies' toilets have complained of the lights suddenly going out and feeling an icy hand touching them. A female owner of the pub who lived upstairs was drying off after a bath when she felt something run up the inside of her leg. She was startled and saw a man with long black hair and a white shirt laughing at her. It is said that the apparition of George Villiers has also been sitting in a chair next to the fireplace. The Cock and Bottle is just one of the haunted places that I visited and investigated during my undergrad days in the wonderful city of York. I didn't know anything about the place apart from the name, and of course there was no internet back in 1990. All I can remember about this investigation was what I personally experienced on the night. Firstly, I made contact with no spirits whatsoever while in the pub. Nobody wanted to come and talk with me, which I can never blame anyone for I certainly wouldn't want to talk to me either. However, there was a certain feel to the place, as though something was amiss, sexual impropriety, leering, leching. It's hard to describe the feeling, but suffice to say that it feels greasy in my mind whenever I experience this type of spirit. It felt like I'd regard a dirty old man hanging around a playground. It was disgusting, self-gratifying, smug, furtive, nauseating, all rolled into one. There were a couple of cold spots during the course of the investigation that were worthy of note. The first briefly happened while I was sat at the bar, minding my own business, thinking out of boredom, a beer would be nice at this point, but of course none was forthcoming. It was a sudden chill inside me, and then, gone. One of those "what was that" moments. More than a cold shiver down the spine, it was like something cold had passed right through me. There was no change to the ambient temperature of the pub when this happened. No sudden opening of doors or windows or switching on of electric fans. All remained quiet. The second chill was in the area of the toilet. I must admit to having had a certain apprehension when visiting the toilet's area. This was somewhere that had been identified as possibly significant before the investigation, but the details were not given. There was a charge in the air, and it went cold, just a degree or so perhaps, and I was half expecting something to occur, or to have something thrown at me from the shadows. Now there's a thought, being hit by a flying toilet roll. Oh, the indignity. But apart from this heightened feeling that somebody was there, and watching, and not particularly wanting us there, nothing actually happened, which in truth was a bit of a letdown. I'm sorry to report that the second Duke of Buckingham did not deign to make an appearance for us. I don't remember any of the young ladies reporting that they'd been interfered with. In truth, I don't remember anything else happening that night. It was a little disappointing, but not totally unexpected. Most investigations produce little or no phenomena anyway.